Our nation stands at a crossroads in our months-long battle with the new coronavirus. Tracking recent developments lately has felt like watching a split-screen television. On the one hand, Operation Warp Speed has fostered a modern medical miracle. The genius of science has brought forward safe and effective vaccines at a pace which, just months ago, many claimed would be impossible. For about 9 months now, our nation has been treading water altogether. Now the road to victory is in sight. But at the same time, even as we see this hopeful sunrise on the horizon, in the here and now, we're still facing an ongoing five-alarm national crisis. The virus is surging across our country. 2 days ago, my home state of Kentucky set another bleak new record, the most Kentuckians lost in a single day of this pandemic so far. Nationwide, since the start of December, we've lost around 3,000 of our fellow Americans to this disease every single day. Meanwhile, although the American people have built our economic recovery with more speed and resilience than anyone had anticipated, we've known all along that recovering prosperity would come hand in hand with defeating the virus. Thus, millions of working families across the nation are still under terrible strain. Last week, economists thought we'd see a slight downward tick in new unemployment claims. Instead, the number shot up, logging 885,000 new claims in just 1 week. Almost 900,000 newly laid off Americans in 1 week alone. Senators on both sides know what we need to do. In the springtime, when the country needed a bridge, we passed the largest rescue package in American history on a unanimous bipartisan basis. Now what Americans need is another bridge. Fortunately, this time we do not need a bridge over an unknown and frightening future, but a bridge through the next several months while the life-saving vaccines can flow throughout our country. Frontline healthcare workers are receiving the vaccine as we speak. Yesterday, Vice President Pence, Speaker Pelosi, and I all received first doses of vaccines pursuant to pre-existing plans for the continuity of our government. These vaccines are safe. They are effective. They are our nation's path out of this hellish chapter. So the first lines of the cavalry are already arriving. We just need to help American families hold on while the reinforcements continue to pour in. More paycheck protection loans for the hardest hit businesses, more additional federal unemployment aid, more direct assistance for families, a lot more funding for K through 12 schools to reopen safely and get our kids' educations back on track. And perhaps most important of all, a huge amount of funding for vaccine distribution so that we aren't just helping Americans endure this battle, but we're helping them win the battle as fast as possible. Last night, we extended government funding for 2 additional days. The Senate and House need to finalize another rescue package containing all the policies I just named and many more. We need to finalize government funding legislation for next year, and we need to pass these measures with a big bipartisan vote and get them signed into law without further delay. We need cooperation and focus from all sides. There is a kind of gravitational pull here in Congress where, unless we are careful, any major negotiation can easily slide into an unending catalog of disagreements. Let's guard against that. The American people have already waited for more assistance longer than they could afford. In my judgment, they've waited far too long for a relief package of the same general size and scope that Senate Republicans have been proposing literally since last summer. Every one of us in the Senate and the House represent American families who simply cannot wait any longer for Congress to conclude these discussions. Every day that we delay may very well cost more small businesses their survival, cost more American workers their jobs, and yes, cost more Americans their very lives. We've had productive discussions this week. I appreciate the good faith spirit that has characterized my talks with Democratic leaders, Speaker Pelosi, Leader McCarthy, Secretary Mnuchin, But the American people cannot feed their families or pay their bills with Congress' good faith discussions. They need us to act. We need to conclude our talks, draft legislation, and land this plane.